Welcome back. The dreams are your ticket out. Welcome back. Same old place that you laughed about. Well, the names have all changed since you hung around, but those dreams have remained and have turned around. Who'd have thought they'd lead ya? Who'd have thought they'd lead back here where we need ya? Here where we need. Yeah, we tease them a lot, 'cause we got him on the spot. Welcome back. Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. Welcome back. What's happening, people? Live and direct. What is happening? Shout out to Patrick Jones. So let's get straight into it. Let's not stand on ceremony here. So before we get on to the main topic of today's stream, I want to talk about this video here. Not sure how many of you guys have seen this. The aftermath. Eddie Hearn reflects on Tyson Fury, loss to Usyk, AJ Fury, Fisher Allen controversy. Now, the most interesting thing to me in this interview, it's on IFL TV's YouTube channel, was the part where Eddie Hearn was talking about being in the sea. He's out there in the Caribbean, and he went back to the shore, and he saw like 30 missed calls from Turkey Al Sheikh. And so he called Turkey Al Sheikh back, or he answered another call from him, whatever it was. And Turkey Al Sheikh started going off on him. Why are you not answering your phone? And Eddie Hearn's like, I was in the sea. I was actually like swimming. Now, this is not the first time that Eddie Hearn has revealed the fact that Turkey Al Sheikh talks to him like he's a bellboy or something. That's literally the way that Turkey Al... Now, Eddie Hearn tries to play it off and say, oh, he's funny as Turkey and this and that, and you know, we give it back to him and whatever. But I don't buy it. I don't think that Turkey talks to Frank Warren like this. I don't think that Turkey talks to Spencer Brown like this. Eddie Hearn is Turkey's whipping boy. That's how Turkey sees it. He sees Eddie Hearn as his whipping boy. And Eddie don't like it. I don't care what he says. In fact, he revealed in this interview, he said, look, I like working with Turkey. I like working with the Saudis, but even if I didn't, I would still do it. I'll grin and bear it for the money. So he was basically telling you the truth without telling you the truth. Because he said, but I do like working with him. Yeah, right. Why did you feel the need to mention that then? That you would just grin and bear it for the money? Because that's what you're doing, Eddie. You're not fooling me. I'm telling you right now that when Eddie Hearn says that this is his most enjoyable part, this is the most enjoyable part of his career so far, I think it's the exact opposite. This is the least Eddie Hearn has enjoyed boxing. Now, maybe not having the same workload as far as getting fights done is something that he prefers now over the way it was in the past, but he's still got to be at Turkey's beck and call. He's still got to be, again, treated like some type of bellboy. And he don't like it at all. Especially since, as far as I can tell, Frank Warren and Spencer Brown don't get spoken to like that. So, yeah, you guys watch it and see what you make of it. But that's my read on what Eddie Hearn said in this interview. And he, as I said earlier on, he's said this multiple times. It's not the first time he's spoken about the way that Turkey basically derides him all the time, rips into him. Yeah, Eddie Hearn can take a joke, but I think this is beyond that. You know, these Saudi nobles, they're used to speaking to their staff and what have you like that. You know what I mean? They're used to being able to order people around and so on and so forth. They grow up like that. From when they're kids, they got servants and what have you. So Eddie Hearn, I think, feels humiliated, but he's willing to put up with it for the money that's involved, for his clients, so on and so forth. But he don't enjoy it. I don't believe him. I think it's all cap. Shout out to everybody in the chat. New people joining. Shout out to Ocean Blue. Shout out to Spike C. So moving on then. Let's talk about the next generation of heavyweights. We got the latest heavyweight rankings up on screen here. Daniel Dubois, IBF champion. We don't know how long Usyk's going to carry on for, but I suspect if he decides to continue boxing, let's say beyond the next 12 months, he's going to lose. Father Time is undefeated. And I don't think Usyk is going to change that. So I reckon Usyk is 12 months away from no longer being champion, whether he decides to retire or whether somebody beats him. So who is going to step up after the Usyks, the Furies, the AJs, Wilders, etc. have officially called it a day, or at least faded off into obscurity? Dubois is a current belt holder, so he's going to be there or thereabouts. But hot on Dubois' heels, we just get Dubois' box rec up here. You can see 22-2 with 21 KOs, 6'5", 78-inch reach, 27 years of age. Now, some of the fighters I'm going to mention in this stream are actually in their early 30s, but I'm going to say that they are the back end of the new generation, or should I say the front end, however you want to look at it. So they're just about in the new generation because they're going to factor in big fights with the new generation more so than the old generation, the Usyks, the AJs, the Furies, Wilder, and so on. So hot on Daniel Dubois' heels is Akim Kabayel. 32 years of age, unbeaten, 25-0, 17 KOs, fights out of Germany. He is of Turkish, in fact, I think Turkish-Kurdish extraction. He is obviously coming off 2 good wins. Arslanbek Makhmudov, who he stopped, also stopped. Frank Sanchez. He's now fighting Zheli Zhang, the big man from China. That's going to be a good one. I make Kabayel a slight favorite, but he's got to get out of those first 5 rounds. And we haven't seen Kabayel hit by anyone who is remotely as powerful as the Big Bang. So let's see. I mean, the Big Bang, to my way of looking at it, is the most dangerous puncher in the heavyweight division in the first 5 rounds. Absolute dynamite in both hands. So yeah, Kabayel's there. We'll see how he gets on against the big man from China. Then, of course, we've got Martin Bakole. He's definitely hot on Daniel Dubois' heels. It seems at the moment as though he's going to fight a final eliminator against Efe Ajagba to become IBF mandatory. But that hasn't been confirmed yet. Is there some funny business going on behind the scenes? Because all the talk was that Ajagba, who was promoted by Top Rank, was going to accept Remember, Kabayel turned down the Bakoli fight, pulled out of the purse bids. So did Jelly Zhang. The excuses they've come up with are laughable. Saying that Bakoli asked for too much money. That makes no sense when you're going into a purse bid, because a purse bid is there to remedy any impasse in negotiations. So if you're worried about how much Bakoli's asking for, just go through with the purse bid. Then the amount he gets will be decided by the winning bid. Simple. Anyway, we've been over that before. Bakoli is looking to fight Akim Kabayel in a final, Efe Ajagba in a final eliminator, but maybe Bob Arum is going to involve himself in messing Martin Bakoli around by acting like his man Ajagba's going to fight him and then just stalling because, Bob Arum has been close with Frank Warren. I have to imagine Spencer Brown. Are they all in it together? Trying to sabotage Bakoli because they don't want him getting anywhere close to Daniel Dubois, at least not in the foreseeable future. You guys let me know what you think in the comment section below, but Bakoli at 32 years of age, 21-1, 16 KOs. He's beaten the likes of Jared Anderson, Carlos Takam, Tony Yoka, somebody he beat, Sergey Kuzmin. Of course, his only loss was to Michael Hunter, who stopped him in the 10th round several years ago. So let's see if Martin Bakoli manages to get an opportunity to fight in a final eliminator. The IBF tend to expedite their mandatories quite quick. So, maybe Martin Bakoli will be breathing down Daniel Dubois' neck sooner rather than later. Hopefully so. Because I don't like what's being done to Martin Bakoli at the minute because of the fact that he's signed to Ben Shalom. Look, it don't matter what I think of Ben Shalom or what you think of Ben Shalom. We're talking about what's best for the sport of boxing. What's best for the heavyweight division. And it's not good when a guy like Martin Bakoli is getting frozen out. A guy who's been knocking at the door of a heavyweight title shot for several years now. It's not good. And I've spoken in previous videos and live streams about how I hope that Turkey puts a stop to this, because that's one of the things that he didn't necessarily say he was going to do, but a lot of people assumed that Turkey was going to end all of the silly boxing politics that go on with fighters getting frozen out because they're not with certain promoters, etc. Anyway, Bakoli, big, strong Congolese fighter, power in both hands, very smooth puncher, high work rate. We haven't seen him in there with a puncher like Daniel Dubois, but according to the sparring rumors, Martin Bakoli is basically the undisputed sparring champion, according to his trainer manager, Billy Nelson. And according to that, he destroyed Daniel Dubois in the gym. But then again, so did Filip Hrgovic, apparently, and look what happened to him when he fought Dubois for real. Anyway, moving on from Martin Bakoli, we've got Efe Ajagba, who I've already mentioned. He's 20-1, 14 KOs. That one loss was a points defeat to Frank Sanchez. He was dropped in that fight. Ajagba can punch very hard. 30 years of age, 6'6" tall, 85-inch reach, which is a very long reach, from Nigeria. He hasn't really impressed in the minds of most boxing fans, as far as I can tell. Certainly hasn't impressed me. He's fought some decent competition. He's scraped by several times, including in his last fight against Guido Vianello. He is very upright, robotic, pretty slow. Doesn't appear to have the strongest will in the world, but he does have that tremendous punching power in the right hand, which is a great thing to have. And it's something he's going to need. It's something he's going to rely on. He's going to have to rely on moving forward because he doesn't have the skills and the athleticism and the fluidity, the boxing brain and so on of some of the other fighters on this list. Moving on from Efe Ajagba, we'll see how he gets on with Martin Bakoli if that fight goes ahead. Fabio Wardley, the white collar man, the guy who was brought up under the wing of Dillian Whyte, basically the same route as Dillian Whyte. Dillian Whyte had very few amateur fights, turned pro and was fighting on the small hall shows and what have you. Fabio Wardley had no amateur fights at all, just a few white collar bouts. And he has done fantastically well. 18-0-1, 30 years of age, from Ipswich. 6'5" tall. Knockout puncher, coming off a very impressive win over Fraser Clark, where he literally caved man's head in. Caved the side of man's head in. Crazy. That was one of the scariest injuries I've seen in boxing, because at first I didn't know what it was. I was thinking, has he actually like knocked part of his skull in? In the end, it was a dislocated jaw, I believe. It dislocated right at the top and it left a dent in Fraser Clark's head. Scary injury. So Fabio Wardley's legend has been enhanced of the fact that he put a hole in a guy's head with his fist with a boxing glove on it. So yeah, definitely a wild card in the heavyweight division. He doesn't have classic skills. He's still somewhat raw and novice-y. But what he does have is something that you can't teach, which is a natural fighting instinct. In terms of the way you would want a guy to react when he's hurt, when he's in trouble, psychologically, Fabio Wardley is exactly that. Now, technically, he might not always react the way you want him to, because it's not always going to be best to just come firing back, all guns blazing when you get hurt. Sometimes it will be better to tie up, to move around and so on. But the mindset is the most important thing. The mindset is what's so impressive about Fabio Wardley. This is not a guy who panics. This is a guy who, when you hurt him, he can't wait to get you back. You know, it spurs him on when you hurt him. That's a very, very, as I say, good strength to have from a mental perspective. So yeah, Fabio Wardley is going to be there or thereabouts. Again, 30 years of age. Then we've got Kid Dynamite, the one who everyone's talking about right now. Just turned 20 years of age in the past couple days. Moses Itauma. His birth name apparently is Enrico Itauma. So maybe Moses is just a family nickname, a middle name maybe, or a ring name. I don't know. But if you look on his Wikipedia page, certainly on his box rec, he's listed as Enrico. And I did see an interview with Itauma where he let slip that his name is Enrico. Because he said Enrico, and then he stopped himself and then said Moses. So I'm not sure what the Moses thing is about, but I think it sounds better than Enrico, to be fair. So maybe he should go with it, even if it's not his real name, you know, like Tyson Fury went with Tyson rather than Luke, because Luke was his original name. But he went with Tyson because it had more power to it, and I think that was a good move. So yeah, Moses Itauma just turned 20, 11-0, 9 KOs. Originally from Slovakia. That's right, he was born in Slovakia, Slovakian mother, Nigerian father. He's definitely a prodigy. Somebody who came up as a teenager, turning up to pro gyms in his school uniform, sparring world champions and giving them hell. This is not an ordinary prospect. This is somebody very special. He turned pro partly because he wanted to try and break Mike Tyson's record and become the youngest heavyweight champion in history. That is looking doubtful at this point because he's got, I think, 5 months to do it. 4 or 5 months. It's technically possible, but belts are going to have to be vacated or stripped off Usyk, and the right opponent is going to need to crop up. An ideal scenario, which was mentioned by somebody in the live chat on previous stream, an ideal scenario would be Justice Hooney, who we'll come on to. because he's highly ranked with the WBO. If we have a look here, Justice Suni is ranked number 5 with the WBO. Itma is ranked number 6. Now, the reason that this might actually be doable, you see a bunch of people above Huni and Itma, but Zhang and Kabayel are fighting each other for the WBC interim title. So that puts them out of the running for the vacant WBO. Okay, Joseph Parker is fighting for the IBF. So he will no longer be interim champion as soon as he steps in against Daniel Dubois. That just leaves Tyson Fury. Well, Martin Bakad, he's apparently going to fight and eliminate with the IBF, so that removes him from the WBO equation. As I say, that would then just leave Tyson Fury. Would Tyson Fury want to fight for a vacant WBO belt? Maybe he would. In which case, it might be Tyson Fury versus Justice Huni. But as I say, there's the possibility there, and shout out to the person who mentioned this. It's a very good spot. The possibility that Huni, Itma could be for the vacant WBO heavyweight title. I hope it happens, because I like to see records broken. So we'll see what goes on there. Itma, very fast southpaw, power, speed. Yes, there are things he needs to work on. He's definitely not the finished article. And as I've said in several previous videos, because of the fact he's only 11-0, he's not in the same position that Mike Tyson was in at the same age. Mike Tyson had over 20 fights, I think about 25 fights by the time he challenged for the heavyweight title, because he had a very unique, very rare setup where his handlers were able to get him fighting basically once a month for the first 2 years of his career. Incredible. That's not anything to do with Mike Tyson's talent. That's got to do with the setup that his handlers were able to get, whereby they could fight on different promoters' shows and what have you. Itma doesn't have the luxury. He hasn't had the luxury of doing that. I'm sure he would have loved to. But he is signed to an exclusive promotional deal with Frank Warren. So he's limited to fighting on Frank Warren shows. So because he didn't have the luxury of having as many fights as Mike Tyson in his first 2 years, if Itma did get the opportunity to fight for a heavyweight title and he did win it in his next fight, my advice would be to vacate the belt immediately and then continue the learning process, because he's already solidified himself at that stage in the history books, beating Mike Tyson's record. The haters will hate and they'll say whatever they want to say. And there's going to be a fair share of haters, because it'll be, Mike Tyson's, by my way of looking at things, the most popular fighter in history. Muhammad Ali at his peak was, I want to say, more popular than Mike Tyson at Tyson's peak. But Mike Tyson has had greater longevity as far as his popularity goes. So I would say Mike Tyson's the most popular fighter in history. So, if Itma were to beat his record and then vacate the belt, a lot of hate would come with that, but who cares? You've broken the record. You can go on 18 months later to step back up to world level and build a impressive resume, and that whole issue with vacating the belt after breaking Mike Tyson's record will be quickly forgotten. Anyway, that's Itma. He's definitely one who I'm particularly keen on following because of the talent there, the age. He's definitely got time on his side. Now, the next person on this list, some of you might be a little perplexed by. You'll say, why is he on the list? He's not new generation. And he's only just stepped into the division. It's this man right here. The source, Lawrence Okolie, 32 years of age, former cruiserweight, world champion, former bridgeweight, world champion, 21-1, 16 KOs, 6'5", 82-inch reach. Well, think about it, folks. Lawrence Okolie, by my reckoning, is still pretty fresh, okay? And he's only the same age as Akim Kabayel. He's only the same age as Martin Bakad. So again, these guys are like the older guys in the new generation. So I'm going to put Lawrence Okolie there. I still think he's got some gas in the tank, and he might cause some surprises. We'll see. But his last two performances, despite him having this long-standing reputation as being a hugger, a horribly negative fighter, which is a reputation he's earned, right? Nevertheless, his last two performances were anything but negative. He blasted out that Polish fighter, the bridgerweight, Lucas Rosansky, in one round. And then he blasted out a heavyweight opponent, Hussein Muhammad, in one round in his heavyweight debut. So far, so good under Joe Gallagher for the source Lawrence Okoli. Watch this space. Hopefully the exciting performances continue. Next on the list here, we got Justice Hooney, who I already spoke about in relation to a potential fight with Moses Atauma for the vacant WBO heavyweight strap. He's 11-0, 6 KOs, from Australia, 6'4", orthodox fighter. He's got some speed about him. He's a decent boxer. Certainly not the most prolific puncher in the world. His most notable fight was a victory over Kevin Lorena. But that was a close one, folks. You go watch Justice Hooney versus Lorena. That's a very competitive fight throughout. Kevin Lorena, of course, is the same guy. Oh, he's currently Bridgerweight champion, but he's the same guy that was able to drop Daniel Dubois several times early before getting stopped himself early. So yeah, Justice Hooney doesn't massively impress me, if I'm being honest. But maybe he's a slow burner. We'll see. Some guys are like that. They don't look great early on in their careers, but as things progress, because they don't have spectacular knockout power, they concentrate so much on the other aspects of their game, on the technical aspects of their game, that by the time they reach championship level, they're very well-rounded and they've got skills that some of the other guys don't. We'll see if that's the case with Justice Hooney. All right, moving on to the next guy on the list here. Bakad Aliyev, Olympic gold medalist, 30 years of age. Disappointing that he's reached this age without doing anything in the pro ranks, because he's been preoccupied going back and forth to the amateurs. I really don't know what that's all about. Is there some apprehension for him turning pro full time? I think somebody mentioned to me that the Uzbek government still pay these guys quite a lot of money for competing in the amateurs, in the Olympics and what have you. Well, whatever the Uzbek government are paying him, I'm going to imagine it pales in comparison to the kind of money that he can earn at the higher levels of the pro game. So I've been very disappointed that he's allowed himself to get to the age of 30 before refocusing on his professional career. His next fight, just to put things in perspective, is in February against a guy called David Spilmont. David Spilmont is somebody who got stopped by Alan Babich. For a guy of Jalilow's level and his ability, and by the way, folks, this guy's got tremendous ability. 6'7", 81-inch reach, absolute dynamite in the southpaw left. Dynamite. A tremendous puncher with the backhand. The right hook up front, not so much, at least not yet. But the southpaw backhand is crazy. I mean, just go and watch the first fight he had with Richard Torres Jr., who we'll come on to. And you'll understand what I mean when I say that that backhand is crazy. Dynamite. So Bakad Aliyev, if he focuses himself on the professional game and starts stepping up and fighting some real fights, he's a very interesting addition to the heavyweight division. He might be the heir apparent. You know, the only thing I'll say is that Jalilov suffered a loss to Joe Joyce in the amateurs way back in the days, where Joyce bullied him around the ring and he made Jalilov look like he didn't want to be there. So although Jalilov is very talented, he's got quick feet, he's got quick hands, tremendous power in the southpaw left, he is a bit upright, and his heart there's a question mark there. I'm not saying he doesn't have the heart. People can change, but I think there's a question mark there. So moving on from Jalilov to the next person on the list here. We got Jared Anderson, still only 25 years of age, 17-1 with 15 KOs. That one loss being to Martin Bakoli in that Riyadh season card in the US. I don't know whether Jared Anderson is going to come back and do anything. I'm not saying he can't. I'm just saying I don't know, because even prior to the defeat against Martin Bakoli, this guy was talking about retirement. He said he didn't want to carry on past the age of 27. Well, he would have made a decent amount of money from the Bakoli fight. So if he already saw boxing as a chore, if he already saw it as just a job and something he didn't really love, then perhaps that paycheck has removed any last semblance of love he had for the game, as well as the humiliating defeat, because that can sour you towards the game as well. That can rob you of confidence. So, big question mark over Jared Anderson, but if he has the desire, if he puts the work in, if he has the determination, then I think he does have the ability to do something in this next generation. I think he has the physical ability, the technical ability can be worked on. I think he's got the athleticism. I think he's got the heart. He obviously doesn't have the kind of chin that he thought he did. But if you've got good attributes in other areas, you can protect a dodgy chin. Not to say his chin is terrible, but he's somewhat vulnerable in that department. There have been many fighters over the years who didn't have the greatest chins that actually won versions of the heavyweight title. To give you a few, Tommy Morrison never had a great chin, but became WBO heavyweight champion. Michael Moorer had a terrible chin, really, but he beat Evander Holyfield to become world heavyweight champion. He was actually, I think, 2-time heavyweight champion, Michael Moorer, because then he fought Francois Botha, beat him as well. I think took his title off him. I'm going off memory here, but that fight was on the undercard of Mike Tyson versus Evander Holyfield 1, November 9th, 1996. So Michael Moorer, a guy who had a really poor chin, blown up like heavyweight, he was able to become world heavyweight champion. Herbie Hyde was WBO world heavyweight champion. He had a terrible chin at heavyweight. Terrible chin. One of the worst I've seen. So, yeah, there have been fighters over the years, didn't have great chins, but still became heavyweight champions, were still in the mix in big fights, important fights. All right? So, if Anderson has the desire, I think there's the opportunity there for him to do something in the next generation. We've got another guy who took a loss in David Adelaide. He's 13-1, 12 KOs. That was the 12 I was looking at there. 28 years of age, 6'4". He's coming off a good win over Sol Dakers and one-punch knockout victory with a left hook. Recently linked up with Adam Booth as a new coach. He's a very naturally confident character, cocky, but he can speak well. If you've seen his recent appearances on TalkSport, speaks well. He can come across well when he wants to. When he's not in fight mode, he can actually get analytical and break down fights and what have you quite impressively. So I think David Adelaide, under the tutelage of Adam Booth, still has an interesting future. He's been talking about getting it back against Wardley, getting his revenge. Wardley's moved past this particular level. So, that's going to be something that will probably be years down the line if it happens at all. But I think Adelaide is athletic. He can certainly punch. I think there's raw talent for Adam Booth to mold there and work with. It's interesting that Adam Booth said that David Adelaide has an underdeveloped right hand. because it's the inverse of what he was working with David Haye. David Haye had an underdeveloped left hook. And Adam Booth spoke about this when he was training David Haye. He said, David's not a natural left hooker. He's a natural right hand puncher. See, some guys, and we're not talking about whether you're left-handed or right-handed here, folks. There are plenty of right-handed people who are natural left hookers. They can throw a great right hand as well, but the left hook is a shot that comes naturally to them. They don't have to work terribly hard to get power on it. Obviously, they tweak it and improve the technique over the years. Mike Tyson would be an example. Some people have falsely claimed that Mike Tyson is naturally left-handed. He's not. He's right-handed. But he's, in a boxing sense, ambidextrous. Yeah, I don't think he can right with his left hand, but for the purposes of boxing, he always appeared to hit just as hard with his left as he did with his right. So he was a natural left hooker. Yeah, well, he's just a natural puncher all round, but the left hook came naturally to him. So with David Haye, the right hand was his shot. Left hook, he had to work on a lot because it wasn't a shot that came easy to him. Adelaide is the inverse, according to Adam Booth. The right hand doesn't come easy to him, but the left hook does. And that's what laid waste to Paul Sol Dakers in Adelaide's last outing. So yeah, I think Adelaide is still an interesting prospect to watch. I know a lot of people don't like him and they want to write him off because they don't like the arrogance and the cockiness. Anyway, moving on to the next fighter here. We got Richard Torres Jr., 25 years of age, Olympian, fought Bakad Aliyev a couple times in the unpaid ranks. He has a fascination with the 1980s, the decade I was raised in. He has a a curly perm and a mustache like somebody out of the 1980s. Either an English football manager, an English football coach like Graham Souness or something. Well, Graham Souness was a player back then, but the Scousers from the, was it the Fast Show or Harry Enfield and Chums? They all had the curly perms and a mustache. Yeah, there was a lot of people that looked like that in the 1980s. I don't know what it was all about, but mustaches were still all the rage then. Like Magnum P.I. had a big mustache and what have you. So a lot of guys look like that. So anyway, Richard Torres Jr., obsessed with the 1980s, dresses like a boxer from the 1980s, like Rocky Balboa or something. Puts montages together with 80s synthwave music or rock, It's quite nice seeing stuff like that for an old head like me. It's quite nostalgic. But as far as Richard Torres Jr., the fighter, he's got fast hands, he can punch. He's a southpaw. 25 years of age. Still kind of rushes his work, even though he does have that amateur pedigree. And maybe that's just his style. They're moving him very slowly. He's with Bob Arum, Top Rank. Far more slowly than most of the other prospects are being moved. Is that because they're concerned about his chin? Again, he did get cleaned out by Bakad Aliyev in devastating fashion in their first meeting. I think it was their first meeting. It certainly wasn't their final meeting. The final meeting was in the most recent Olympics. Was it the most recent or the Olympics before that? Excuse me. The one before, yeah. Not the most recent one, the one before that. Because the most recent one was the one that had that English Nigerian kid with a very dodgy name, Delicious. How's a man going to be called Delicious? Delicious Ori, the guy's called. What a terrible name. Anyway, moving on from Torres Jr. to the final name on the list here. Tera Moana. Now, he was in the most recent Olympics. He fought Bakad Aliyev, and unlike Richard Torres Jr., he got hit with that big left hand from Aliyev and nothing happened. Didn't get hurt, didn't go down. So this guy appears to have a very good chin. 6'6", from Australia, 5-0, 5 KOs. He's crude, he's aggressive. He's got for his size, a decent amount of speed there. He's not like slow like Joe Joyce. You know, there's some type of athleticism and speed. But he is a crash bang wallop type fighter. This is not a stylist. He's not a guy who's going to come in and give you all the silky skills. Okay, this guy is kicking down the front door, waving the 4-4. That's who he is. It's home invasion. This guy's not a burglar. Yeah? This guy's coming straight in, kicking the door, waving the 4-4. That's who he is. Very early days in his career. We'll see how he gets on. He's one of the rare Matchroom heavyweight signings. They don't sign a lot of heavyweights these days, Matchroom. Not sure what's going on there because they used to have the heavyweight division on lock. So, yeah. Anyway, let's turn it over to the live chat. Get to your questions and comments. Shout out to Ben for the super chat. He says, I got Bakoli beating Usyk right now. I don't think Usyk has power to slow him down. The way he walked through Anderson's shots was crazy. Okay. And there's a couple of replies to Ben's super chat. He says, Usyk will lose at some stage if he carries on. Another person says, Bakoli is no easy work for anyone, but remember, Michael Hunter stopped him. Again, always big up Ben for the super chats. I think that Bakoli's a very interesting fight with Usyk. I don't know whether I'd be confident enough to pick Bakoli to win. I know there's all the sparring stories and this, that, and the other, but you don't know what, you don't know the ins and outs of when they sparred. For all we know, Usyk could have sparred 8 rounds already, and then Bakoli jumped in fresh. Do you know what I mean? Or maybe he had a really tough session the day before and his legs weren't quite there. I've heard that Usyk spars 5-minute rounds, like 15 5-minute rounds. This guy pushes himself so hard in the gym, you don't know how fresh he was when he sparred Bakoli. There's all this talk that Bakoli stopped him with a body shot. All right. Context. Shout out to Ray Carl Brown for the super chat. He says, I hope the new bunch don't duck each other like the Fury heavyweight era. That's my criticism of some last-gen heavyweights, some cherry-picked fights. Thank you. Ray Carl Brown, Amori for the super chat, and I agree. The last era, I guess it's the current era on the way out, the old guard was marred by people ducking and dodging, people avoiding fights, people not wanting to be old school in the sense of taking on the best competition. I did a video the other day talking about how Alexander Usyk is addicted to the challenge. He wants the toughest opposition. The previous generation of heavyweights, certainly with Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder, they were not like that at all. I think Deontay Wilder was ignorant enough, if left to his own devices when he was still unbeaten. I reckon he would have taken on the toughest competition. But he was advised against it by his handlers. He was steered away from it by his handlers. Yes, he fought Tyson Fury, but I think that was a miscalculation on their part. I think they thought they were going to get Tyson Fury when he was weak and seriously diminished. And it backfired. Because you look at everything else that Deontay Wilder did, he was kept away from Joseph Parker. He was kept away from Anthony Joshua. Yes, he did fight Luis Ortiz, but how good was Ortiz anyway? And that fight only happened, surprise, surprise, when Ortiz signed with PBC. Because Ortiz was trying to fight Deontay Wilder before he signed with PBC, and Wilder didn't want to know. So yeah, there was too much of that in the previous generation, the old guard. That's why Usyk was the champion that the heavyweight division needed. Usyk was never the champion the heavyweight division wanted. He was the champion it needed. You know, like Batman in The Dark Knight. Not the hero that Gotham wants, but the hero that Gotham needs. The hero that Gotham wanted was Harvey Dent. It needed Batman because he was willing to get his hands dirty. You know? And Alexander Usyk didn't have the following, didn't have the backing of the major networks, the major promoters, or anything like that. The reason he was the heavyweight champion the division needed is because he was willing to just cut through all the BS. Forget about longing fights out, building it up. This guy pursued top fighters back to back to back to back to back. No messing about. He set a fine example for how a champion is supposed to conduct themselves as far as chasing down top competition. So, you know, if it weren't for Usyk, the heavyweight division would be in a worse state, a much worse state. He restored the honor of the heavyweight division, actually, and it came out the blue. You know, I predicted that Alexander Usyk would turn over some big names at heavyweight, but I did not predict that he would become undisputed and clean the top echelon of the division out. I didn't predict that. I thought he would score an upset or two, yeah, but in terms of just cleaning out the division, I didn't see it coming. Most people didn't see it coming. But that's the beauty, particularly, of the heavyweight division. It's so full of surprises. You don't see a lot of this stuff coming. How many of us would have thought 4 years ago that Usyk would, you know, beat all the top heavyweights and become undisputed? Smoking Joe says, with all due respect, AJ was taking on all comers looking for glory, just wasn't good enough to achieve it. No, I agree with you. I agree with you. Thank you for bringing it up. It's a point I often make. Yeah, AJ tried to do what Usyk did. He just wasn't good enough. But the thing is, the other champions still weren't willing to fight AJ. Tyson Fury was messing around for how long? Deontay Wilder turned down 100 mil. Because Usyk came in under the radar as a cruiserweight, I think that's part of the reason that he was able to get it done. Because people didn't see him coming. The top heavyweights didn't see him coming. AJ didn't see him coming. Do you know what I mean? AJ didn't realize what he was getting into when he fought Alexander Usyk the first time. Tyson Fury didn't realize what he was getting into. You know what I mean? And Tyson Fury still avoided the fight for 2 years. He had to be pressured by the public. He had to be tempted by the Saudis. And he knew Usyk was good, obviously. He knew Usyk was very good, but he still convinced himself that his size and all this kind of stuff would be too much for the guy. It wasn't. So it took somebody like that to fly in under the radar to get it done at heavyweight, to unify everything. But what do you guys make of the next generation? Who do you think, let's say 5 years from now, is going to be on top? Out of the new fighters, who's going to be on top 5 years from now? Let's go through the guys briefly again. So we got Tera Moana Jr., Richard Torres, David Adelaide, Jared Anderson, Bakad Aliyev, Justice Hooney, Lawrence Okoli, Moses Itama, Fabio Wardley, F.A. Ajagba, Martin Bakoli, Akim Kabayel, and Daniel Dubois. 5 years from now, Dubois is going to be 32. Right? Kabayel is going to be 37. Bakoli 37. Ajagba 35. Wardley 35. Itma will be just 25. Bakoli will be 37. Justice Hooney will be 30. Jalalov will be 35. Anderson will be 30. Adelaide 33. Richard Torres 30. And Tera Moana 31. So out of all these guys, who do you reckon is going to sit atop the heavyweight division in 5 years' time? Will it still be Daniel Dubois? Will he be reigning supreme? Will the belts be fractured? I mean, I have to imagine they probably will be. I don't think an undisputed heavyweight champion can maintain that status and that position for too long. Not unless he wants to be extremely active. A lot of that will be down to the promoters, you know. Back in the days, in the 1980s, the undisputed champions did used to keep hold of their belts for a long time. Marvin Hagler, that was in a 3-belt era, was undisputed champion for years. Mike Tyson, in the 3-belt era, was undisputed champion for years. But in this era, it's like very difficult. The IBF usually strip the guy right away because he fails to fulfill the mandatory obligation. So you have to really be on it, you know, if you want to keep hold of all those belts and be willing to fight regularly, very regular. I'm talking about 3 fights a year minimum if you want to keep hold of the undisputed status. Trolls Are Bad says Peter Fury actually spoke highly of Usyk's chances of beating AJ the first time. So did I. But I always felt like Usyk would knock off at least 1 or 2 of the top heavyweights. I'm just talking about him becoming undisputed. When Usyk first moved up to heavyweight, I didn't envision that he would go on to beat all the top guys. He'd beat Dubois, beat AJ, beat Fury, you know, Fury and AJ twice. But in terms of knocking off a big name, yeah. I always thought that Usyk would be a tough fight for Anthony Joshua. I said so in my pre-fight video. I said that my prediction was that AJ would get a controversial decision. If you go back and watch my prediction for that fight, I said that I reckon it will go the distance and AJ will maybe get a decision he doesn't deserve. Obviously, that didn't happen. Usyk beat him so convincingly that the judges couldn't give it to AJ. Shout out to Anit for the super chat. He says, Bakoli will rule for a couple years, then Itma. Interesting. So presumably you think that Bakoli is going to beat Usyk? Is he then going to beat Daniel Dubois? Break it down a bit more. How do you think it's going to play out with Bakoli ending up top of the pile? Someone special says Usyk fooled us all, dancing around with Chisora a bit. See, I don't buy that notion that Usyk deliberately underperformed against Chisora so as not to scare AJ off. I don't buy that at all. I just think it was Chisora's style because he totally rushed Usyk the way that no other heavyweight has. And Usyk was taken aback by the ferocity of Chisora's attacks in the early going. Nobody has ever done that to Usyk before or since. Not a cruiserweight, not a heavyweight. No one's just said, you know what? Throwing caution to the wind, I'm going to try and knock this guy's head off in the first few rounds. And Chisora's a short heavyweight, comes in underneath your shots, loads up with big hooks. So no, I don't think Usyk deliberately underperformed at all. I don't buy that notion at all. But because he did have a challenging time against Chisora, naturally, AJ and some of these other heavyweights would have looked at him and thought, he's not really cut out for the heavyweight division. You wait till I stick it on him. If Chisora sticking it on him is giving him problems, wait till I stick it on him. But none of them have been willing to do what Chisora did. That's the funny thing. Dave says his best win is a prospect and he's in his 30s. I guess you're talking about Bakoli. Well, is that Bakoli's best win? Or is Tony Yoka Bakoli's best win? I think in retrospect, we have to say that Yoka's probably Bakoli's best win. Olympic gold medalist and, the people that Yoka had beaten. I know Yoka's done terrible since. But has Anderson done any better? He says Bakoli hasn't done anything in the game. Well, nobody's done anything in the game until they have done something, right? There always comes a crossover point where the guy who's done nothing ends up doing something. So I don't think you can hold it against somebody because they haven't done anything yet. Because when their opportunity comes, they may do something. I don't really get that particular argument for an upcoming fighter. Yes, he's 30, but so is Akim Kabayel. And Zhang and Kabayel both avoided Bakoli. Facts. They avoided him. Zhang and Kabayel pulled out of purse bids. They could have fought Bakoli, chose not to. Rod Brown says Dubois is scared of Bakoli. I'm not sure if Dubois is scared of Bakoli, but I think his people are scared of Bakoli. I think Frank Warren is scared of what might happen if Bakoli gets in the ring with Daniel Dubois. I don't think Dubois is, because Dubois has come through against these alpha male types like Jarrell Miller and Filip Hrgović, who are very alpha characters, bully type characters. And Hrgović, by all accounts, mashed up Dubois in sparring back in the days. But Dubois was unperturbed by that. He was unintimidated by that. So the fact he's come through against those types of guys, I'm not sure he'd be scared of Bakoli. But I think his people might be. And, Dubois is kind of a simple-minded kid. That's the way he comes across. He's very simple-minded. And simple-minded people are often more difficult to intimidate because they are not overthinkers, right? Somebody who's more of a thinker, who's maybe more intelligent and a bit deeper, they might be easier to intimidate. Not always, but generally, they can be easier to intimidate because they can get lost in their own thoughts and playing different possibilities and scenarios in their head. Whereas with a guy like Daniel Dubois, doesn't appear to be much going on upstairs. Frank Warren just has a little whisper in his ear, puts a battery in his back, winds him up, sets him off. I think surely that's what happened when he jumped in the ring and challenged Usyk the other weekend. Surely that was Frank Warren or somebody in Dubois' team whispering in his ear, telling him to go do that, winding him up, battery in his back, just turn the little windy thing, set him off on rails, right? And because he's like that, I don't think he gets that scared. The Staminal says Dubois is pretty alpha too. He was just a bit young and unsure of himself. No, Dubois doesn't have an alpha personality at all. An alpha personality is a confident, bullish personality. When they come in the room, they're the center of the attention in the room. Everybody's looking at them, everybody's listening to them. This is an alpha personality. Tyson Fury is an alpha personality. Jarrell Miller, Dylan White to some extent. These are alpha guys. Even David Adelaide. Dubois is not like that at all. Dubois is an introvert. He's not an alpha personality at all. That doesn't mean he can't be the alpha in the ring. When he's fighting, he very often usually is. But in terms of his like outside the ring persona, no, he's a shy, socially awkward kid. Very awkward. Doesn't have an alpha personality at all. I hope the person I'm about to block is not James Wood. I hope it's not James Wood. James Wood, if that's you, let me know and then I won't remove this individual. If it's not James Wood, I won't remove him. James Wood is my guy. I only say that because of the name that's there. It makes me think it might be James Wood. I'm going to assume it's not James Wood and it's just somebody else. But you know, like a Fury fanboy. Let me get him out of here. James Wood, if you're out there, big up. Anant says, oh, excuse me, Colbzilla says J.O. Patai is alpha. Yeah, J.O. Patai is definitely alpha. Definitely alpha. Kylie says, sometimes alpha is simply a presence, not always outwardly aggressive. Yeah, not always outwardly aggressive, but again, it's certainly not socially awkward. You can't be a socially awkward alpha. You know what I mean? Like, no, that's not alpha. It's not an alpha personality. I mean, Martin Bacoli doesn't really have an alpha personality. He's kind of like a happy-go-lucky, jolly giant type, you know? But in the ring, he's definitely alpha. But outside the ring, he's kind of like jovial, smiling, happy-go-lucky. You know when Dylan White started saying, yeah, come outside or come upstairs and fight, Bacoli was like, nah, chill. I'm not a street fighter. I'm a boxer. You know? An alpha would have been like, yeah, let's go. Whereas Martin Bacoli, I'm a boxer. I'll do it in the ring. Like, I don't want to fight upstairs. Okay, so we got another Fury fanboy here. Friedis, your mom and dad are brother and sister. How about that? You're obviously crying your eyes out over your Luke Partridge losing, thinking I care about AJ losing. I'm a boxing fan. I'm not a fanboy like you, Friedis. Your mom and dad are brother and sister. How about that? That's why you can't comprehend what my channel's about. You think it's about a fanboy channel like the channels you follow, the Fury fanboy channels you follow. You think my channel is the equivalent of that. But for AJ, it's never been that. Just that you're too stupid and brain dead to figure out what my channel is about. Idiot. So yeah, Friedis, suck your mum. How about that? Suck your mum, Friedis. Idiot boy. Go cry into your furiosity, idiot. Triple R says socially awkward alphas are called serial killers. Most serial killers are not alphas. They're introverts. See, you don't have to be an alpha to be a killer. It's not a requisite. Like Jeffrey Dahmer was no kind of alpha. You know Jeffrey Dahmer? He's like a nerd, definitely not an alpha. But he was a killer. Shout out to Chili Beef for the super chat. He says, thoughts on Spencer Brown? Spencer Brown's neck is disappearing into his body. You know when Spencer Brown is sat down at a table? It's like his shoulders are higher than his ears. You guys notice that? His shoulders are literally higher than his ears. There was a cartoon back in the days. I want to say late 80s, early 90s. Which had a villain in it called Clandestino. I can't remember the name of the cartoon. But yeah, Clandestino. Go look up Clandestino and you'll see the shape of Spencer Brown. It's a spitting image. The Bluffers, is that what it was called? The Bluffers? Yeah. That's how Spencer Brown is shaped. His head is literally disappearing into his body. Clandestino. One second. Yeah. See, I'm looking at the picture again just to make sure I got it right. Yeah, that's Spencer Brown. Spencer Brown looks like Clandestino. Like, the position of his head in relation to the rest of his body. Let me see if I can get this up on screen, actually. Huh? Put this up on screen for some of you guys to check out here. Just save this. Get it up on screen. Oops, no, didn't want to do that. I've downloaded it, but it's in some awkward format, so I'm gonna have to reformat it before I can load it up here. Okay, there we go. Save as PNG file. Do that. Okay. Let's just go down here. Load it in. There you go. That's Spencer Brown. The only thing different is the hair color, right? But other than that, that's Spencer Brown. It's amazing how low his head is sinking. It's actually, it almost defies the laws of physics. Shout out to Chili Beef. Thank you for dropping in. Have a good one. Take it easy. Shout out to Chili Beef every time. Isaac says more like the laws of biology. Well, biology and physics. Dave says Spencer Brown is a weird guy. Kieran Smith says, are you a heavy smoker? Your voice changes from video to video. I've never smoked in my life. Cigarettes, that is. When I was a kid, once in a blue moon, smoked a bit of puff. But I've never been a smoker. So no, I don't smoke. Voice changes from video to video. Yeah, because I use my voice so much, it gets hoarse. End up with a hoarse voice. Hence, it changes. People always ask me this, and I don't know. I've answered it like 10 zillion times, but there you go. Sometimes my voice will change from the start of the stream to the end. you'll hear my voice getting progressively more gravelly as the stream goes on. That's what happens when I talk a lot. It gets hoarse. You'd have to ask a biologist or something about the mechanics going on there. It's like early in the morning, your voice is deeper. Carlton Palmer says Andy Ruiz obviously honed his skills through a multitude of Mexican gang street fights. Possible. Nova says, do you remember streaming Tomb Raider like 8 years ago? No, I don't remember streaming Tomb Raider. I don't remember streaming Tomb Raider. I'm not saying I didn't, but I don't remember it. I remember streaming Uncharted. I remember streaming The Last of Us. So I don't remember streaming Tomb Raider. If I did, I've definitely forgotten it. Okay, JH says dried mucus when sleeping cannot vibrate as quick. So that's why our voice is heavier in the morning. It's called morning voice by medics. I always thought it's because our vocal cords become very relaxed in sleep. So when we wake up, you know, the relaxation of the vocal cords makes the voice deeper. But what do I know? That's just what I've heard. I'm not an expert. But obviously I know the effect. I think Waffles are great, says Hatman. Did you ever play COD Modern Warfare 2, the original? Yeah, that was the best Call of Duty there's ever been. That's the most fun Call of Duty's, you know, that's by far the most fun Call of Duty game for me, was the original Modern Warfare 2. The one that came after COD 4. The Cosa Nostra Gaming says, are you going to get GTA 6, Hatman? No, I'm not. I'm not really into GTA, to be honest. I did get GTA 5, but I find GTA very tedious. Steve G wants me to stop singing. I'll never stop singing. I enjoy it. So I'll never stop. You'll have to mute the stream. Blue Car Hill says, nah, Hatman shouldn't. Excuse me. Blue Car Hill disagrees. He says, nah, Hatman should keep singing. He says, Stevie G, give me more a cappella intros and less instrumental ones. All right. Yeah, well, you're in luck because the singing will never stop. It's part of what I do here. Ocean Blue says the same. Big up Ocean Blue. I think Waffles are great. Says, what did you sing when Fury lost? I didn't. I didn't sing anything when Fury lost. Shout out to G-Man in the chat. Reality says, Hatman, you still make rap music. I remember listening to The Black Moses. It wasn't called The Black Moses. It was just called Moses. The track you're talking about. Yeah. I occasionally still make music and watch this space on that. There might be some stuff coming out. Yes, I am a good rapper. I'm not a natural singer. I think we all know that. But in terms of my rapping ability, it's good. I've always been a good rapper. But with the wonders of auto-tune, I can also bring some singing to my tracks now. So yeah, watch out for the auto-tune singing coming your way. Full Fox says, Hatman, Wu-Tang or A Tribe Called Quest? Wu-Tang all day. All day. Triple R says, Hatman, do you think it's possible the wide scorecards in Usyk's favor was influenced by the disrespect the Saudi anthem got in the UK? No. I don't think the scorecards were wide. I think they were bang on. As did Sergio Mora, as did Chris Mannix, as did Teddy Atlas. I think the scorecards were bang on. I didn't think they were wide at all. I think that's Frank Warren narrative and Tyson Fury narrative. Blue Car Hill says, Hatman, would you beat AJ in a freestyle battle? How about Jarrell Miller? Well, freestyling is not really my thing. But in terms of, pre-written lyrics, I'm way better than AJ or Jarrell Miller. I mean, it's laughable. That man can't rap. I'm actually good. I'm actually a good rapper. Not like, it's not like some kind of gimmick thing. I've always been legitimately good. Kylie says, AJ spitting bars is like pulling teeth. I don't recall ever hearing a boxer that could actually rap that was good. Maybe Roy Jones, Can't Be Touched, was pretty decent, right? But other than that song, I can't think of a boxer that could actually rap. They're all horrible. So many of them have tried it. Remember Lawrence Okolie? He came out with a track. You guys remember Lawrence Okolie's rap song? Yep, Okolie had a track. Yeah, look it up on YouTube. You'll find it. Richard Riakpo, did he have a rap song as well? Gotta hope not. Oh, he used to rap before boxing. All right. Sparky says, I can rap better than Hatman. I seriously doubt it. The Stanimal says, Deontay Wilder had some songs too, not rap though. They're actually surprisingly good. I thought they were awful. I thought Wilder's songs were cringe and awful. All right, there's a bunch of people coming out acting like they can rap now. Okay. Son of Abraham said I was joking. All right. Because there are people in this chat that have heard me rap. They've heard my tracks. And they can vouch. I don't even need to talk. Let them talk in the chat. They'll tell you. I'm a legitimately good rapper. Not no gimmick thing and, oh, he's all right for you. No. Proper good. I was rapping long before I was doing this YouTube stuff. I was rapping from secondary school. James Langley said, do you think Fury can regain his reputation at this stage? No, because his reputation was so out of whack. You know, there were people running around calling him the greatest heavyweight of all time. He's never gonna have those types of, pronouncements about him anymore. Nobody's gonna be calling him the greatest of all time. He's not even the greatest of his generation. So that's all gone. So it depends on what you mean by getting his reputation back. Carlton Palmer says, didn't Nas chart with a rap tune? Yeah, horrible one. You could put Nas's rap tune in the same category as John Barnes. John Barnes on Singing for England. Yeah, you can put Prince Nassim in the same category as that. John Barnes. Cringe as hell. Yes, John Barnes level. Which is slightly above Ant and Deck level. Smoking Joe said, the John Barnes rap was the best part of that song as well. I know, it just goes to show how terrible the song was. The John Barnes rap was the best bit. Jay says, who is your favorite English rapper? There's a few. I would say Kalashnikov at his best on his first album, The Sagas. He hit his peak as far as rapping. The production on that album was, it wasn't mixed very well. It wasn't mixed and mastered well. But his actual bars and flows and everything, crazy. Kalashnikov, The Sagas. And other than that, early Kano. I liked Kano back in the days. He was good. Obviously it's grime, but it's all a form of rap, isn't it? So. Yeah, Giggs is quite funny. Anthony says Hatman raps in an American accent. Definitely not. You will never hear me rap in an American accent. That's corny. Hell no. incredible that there are still British guys now rapping in American accents. Not many, but you know, some lost souls rapping in American accents. James Langley says, Jizza Liquid Swords, greatest rap album ever. Well, I don't like to pick one rap album over others because it's so subjective, and I might change from month to month, week to week, year to year in terms of which is my favorite, but I definitely like Liquid Swords for sure. Our selector says, Hatman, what about Black Twang? Black Twang was all right. You know, he was like the best UK rapper for his time. I don't think his music has aged very well. You know, you couldn't put Black Twang in the same category as Kalashnikov. You couldn't put Black Twang in the same category even as Swiss. Like Swiss from So Solid is a very good rapper. When he came out with it was actually a mixtape, but it was more or less an album, but for some reason they called it a mixtape. It was called Pain and Music. And Swiss went in on that mixtape. He went in way better than Black Twang ever was. Same with Kalashnikov, Kano, and so many others. But, you know, Black Twang held it down for his time. Rodney P, I like Rodney P. Yeah, everybody's mentioning Cry in the chat. Yeah, big tune, Cry. And there was another tune on there called Made to Be. That was a banger as well. Made to Be. I don't rate Stormzy, never have. There's something corny about Stormzy's style to me. And his whole, like, I don't know, there's something corny about him. He doesn't have that swag like that, you know, Kano to a lesser extent gets. Even Wiley, the previous Kings of Grime, they had a certain swag about them. To me, like, there's something corny about Stormzy. I can't even quite put my finger on it, but his bars sound corny and his whole vibe is corny to me. Somebody says Stormzy is woke. Yeah, probably, you know. Vote Jeremy Corbyn and all that stuff. Captain Wow says, where do you stand on Oasis? Well, they're not rap. I mean, you know, they made some catchy songs back in the days, but I'm not really an indie guy. You know, guess there's a tune or two here that I don't mind, but I'm not like a big indie fan or anything. Somebody mentioned Venga Boys. Oh dear. Our Big Dog the Don says, did you watch the Stormzy Wiley clash? I saw some of the songs that they made back and forth, but I didn't see any on stage clash. But I much prefer Wiley as an MC than Stormzy, way more. Jay, interesting comment. He says, Stormzy always felt like an industry plant, was never on any grime sets with his peers. One tune and he was the biggest thing ever. Talented, but meh. Yeah, I don't rate him. Somebody says Bugsy Malone is good. Why is Bugsy Malone always pouting? I mean, he pouts more than Kugan Cassius. I don't get it with Bugsy Malone. He's constant pouting all the time. It's weird. Not really into his music, but I just, whenever I see that guy's pouting so hard, I'm like, yeah, God knows what that's all about. Weird movements. KSA says, yo, the Kugan pouting. Yeah. You know, I've always said that I massively respect Kugan's hustle. And I think he's done great things for the interview game. Not just in the UK, but all round in boxing interviewing. So I've got nothing against the man at all. I want to make that clear. I rate Kugan and IFL and what they've done. But yeah, the pouting that I don't know why Kugan pouts in all those photos. It's not going to help him. You know what I mean? It's not going to help him. And somebody says, have you seen the videos of Bugsy Malone boxing that man? Yes, I have. And it's a good thing he's got a career in rap. That's all I can say. It's a good thing he's got a career in rap. He apparently tried to box before he was a rapper. But yeah, he chose the right career path. Fox says Bugsy Malone thinks he's nicer at boxing than he actually is. Yeah, you can see that. You can see he thinks he's far better than he actually is. But yeah, that boy can't fight. Certainly can't box. I mean, if they were to match Bugsy Malone against KSI would probably knock him out. And KSI is, you know, a goofball. Bugsy Malone's supposed to be some roadman, right? But based upon what I've seen of them in their boxing training, I reckon KSI probably knock him out. So I've already answered the question there from Blue. Carly. Who's a better boxer, Bugsy or KSI? KSI. KSI. I reckon KSI knock him out. Nova says his form doesn't look terrible to me. To me, it does. To me, he looks like a guy who can't punch. Like if you see the way he throws punches and the way his legs are not into it, looks like he can't punch. But, you know, if he thinks he's the best boxer in rap, well, there's misfits right there, innit? KSI and all the other rappers, Salt Pappy. Salt Pappy would knock him out. There's a reason why he hasn't actually gone into Misfits. All these other rappers have Mist. Mist went into Misfits, right? All these other YouTubers, and they've gone in. They're all around his age, right? In his age rate, what is he, early 30s or something? There's plenty of people in his age, but he's not going in there because I think he wants to make out as though he's the big dog on campus. But no, I don't think he could beat KSI. I don't think he could beat Salt Pappy. Linkage says, I don't think, he certainly couldn't beat Jake Paul. He says, Bugsy don't need the money. Neither does KSI or Jake Paul or Logan Paul. They don't need the money either. So if you think you're nice, you can box, go fight KSI. Go fight KSI. The cornball, the nerd. Tell you that cornball As corny as KSI is, he's got some power there. He's got some power there for his size. And he's athletic. And he will swing. Yeah, Nova said it exactly right. Bugsy looks snappy, but it's all arms. And it's all posing. It's all pouting and posing. And hey, that boy can't fight. I'm telling you. Been around long enough to look at someone and be like, that boy can't fight. He can't punch and he can't fight. But, you know, he likes doing his little Instagram things. Covered in baby oil. And no diddy. Playing the, you know, the role and the image of the tough guy rapper, but it's, nah, that boy can't box. Carlton Palmer says, is Vidal Riley actually any good? He's definitely got talent. Yeah, he's definitely got talent. It's whether his mindset can match his talent. That's what I'm not sure about. Because when he fought that Lawal guy, I mean, it's as if he was in there against the prime Mike Tyson, how cautious he was. You're only in there against Lawal. Do you know what I mean? What are you being so cautious for? But no, Vidal Riley is very talented. He's got balance, he's got speed, coordination, he's smooth. He can box on the front foot, the back foot, move side to side. He's got a nice rounded skill set and ability there. I'm just wondering about his mindset. The great one says, who wins out of Justo and Quincy? Well, I've never seen Quincy, I've never seen Justo box. Quincy actually came up boxing. So he used to box when he was young. And he definitely got busy on the streets. You know, he's had his fair share of punch-ups on the roads. And he does have some type of boxing technique there, but I mean, what is he, 45, 46? When's the last time he actually boxed? You know, was in a ring sparring even. He's probably doing some now. But, you know, he hasn't lived a great life, has he? Drinking, loads of prison, smoking. I mean, you don't know what he'll be able to do. Justo looks a lot bigger. Does he have any boxing experience? I don't know. Never seen Justo throw a punch, so. But Anthony Joshua's putting the money up for that, isn't he? Justo and and Quincy. And I swear Justo called out all the rappers in the UK, didn't he, to fight? So there you go. There's another one for what's your man called? Bugsy Malone. If he wants to fight Justo, there's another one for him. Unless, if Justo doesn't have any boxing experience, Bugsy Malone probably beat him. But yeah, Justo called out the whole game. Said he'll fight any rapper out. And actually, no, it wasn't Justo that called out the whole game. It was, who's the guy from New Cross? Is he from Peckham or New Cross? I think he's from Peckham. What's that Nigerian guy from? I forget his name now. It's Vic, thank you. Yeah, Vic Santoro. Vic Santoro's the one who called out all the boxers in the game, all the rappers, and said he'll beat any rapper in the whole of the UK in a fight. So there you go. That's one for Bugsy Malone. You can answer Vic Santoro's challenge, right? He says he can beat all the rappers. There you go. Vic Santoro. Afro Jam says Santoro will not be doing drug testing. You think he's on the juice, yeah? Star Fox says, shout out to these road men finding a lane that doesn't involve a night in the nick. The Great One says Freezy and Vic had a little thing last year. It's on YouTube. Yeah, I saw it. Linkage says, did you watch Bouncer versus Arms? Yeah, unfortunately. That is definitely the worst MMA fight I've ever seen in my life. Bouncer versus Arms was absolutely embarrassing. It looked like Bouncer had a panic attack and he laid on top of Arms for like the whole fight. No, did he? I mean, it was shocking. Absolutely shocking. That Bouncer versus Arms thing. Dear, oh dear. Worst MMA fight I've ever seen in my life by a mile. Nova says, Hatman, do you think 22 is too late to have some amateur fights and pursue some kind of small amateur career? No, it's not too late at all. Plenty of time. Do it now. It's not too late at all. Wave says, Hatman, you aware of African Child yet? He's repented now, isn't he? African Child. Because he was going mad a couple years ago, calling everybody out and making all these crazy videos. And since then, did he go on ZZ Mills and say, oh, I was dealing with mental illness and this and that? He's renounced his former ways. Afro Jam said he was sectioned again. Oh, was he? Neil's water bottle says African Child's IG lives were the entertainment I need to get through the shifts. Yeah, his lives were crazy. Afro Jam says he's quieting down since the Liquid Kosh hit him, or Liquid Kosh touch him. So they got him on the pills, huh? I mean, African Child, he was crazy as hell. But he was an example of somebody whose bark was far louder than, far worse than their bite. Because when Vic Santoro ran down, AC jumped in somebody else's car. In a civilian's car. That's how desperate he was to get away from Vic Santoro. He hopped in the next man's car when he was still in it. Oh my God. For all that talk, I mean, dear oh dear, when Vic put it on him, he literally Oh dear. That was sad. Left his phone too, yeah. Left his bag. After all that wicked talk. Anyway. Oh dear, oh dear. But you know, some guys are so good at talking that they're able to intimidate 99% of people by acting crazy. Their act is convincing to a lot of people, right? But people who know them, like Vic obviously knew him and knew it was all an act, he just stuck it on him and yeah, African child melted like ice cream on a hot summer's day. But he's definitely not the full biscuit African child, is he? He's clearly disturbed. He had an obsession with Young Spray for a while. I don't know what that was all about. I don't think they knew each other in real life, but he had some kind of weird obsession with Young Spray where he was constantly like attacking Young Spray on every lie. I don't know what that was all about. Wave says, do you watch Young Spray? No, I can't watch that show. It's too immature. Even though Young Spray's my generation, I mean, he might as well be 20 years younger than me. I can't watch that, man. I'm not really into like roadman podcasts, truth be told. But if I'm going to watch a little bit of a roadman podcast, it would be Winners Talking, Pound Sterling, because it's a bit more of a mature vibe. But Spray's one is just, no. Bionic Steve. He's actually quite funny, Bionic Steve. Not that he intends to be, but you know, he's got the old school South London twang and way of articulating himself, which I find entertaining. Colpzilla says, have you ever been into that roadman attitude when you were younger? Did you ever act like that and regret it? Well, I was a rough kid. And I've been into that many times over the years. I was a rough kid, you know, aggressive, troublemaking kid in my teens and on into my very early 20s. So been there, seen it, done it as a kid, you know? I never brought that into adulthood. But you know, it's an aspect of my personality which, you know, can come out if I get upset. But you know, as a man, you try not to put yourself in situations where you're going to lose your temper, because, you know, going to jail in your 40s is not the one, is it? Or, you know, getting mashed up or worse in your 40s is not the one either. So either way, as a man, you try keep yourself away from trouble as an older man. Colpzilla says, so you have a switch and it can come out. Of course. And it does. But that's why I have to manage myself carefully, because I know what I'm like. If somebody disrespects me or steps over the line, it's on. Even now as an old man, some of us are slaves to our pride, you know? And pride can get you in serious trouble, one way or the other. So that's always going to be me. It's always going to be part of me. I just try and avoid people that might provoke that aspect of my personality. Big Dog says, was there beef between Caribbeans and Africans when you were growing up? No, there was no beef, because Africans, I'm not being funny, no disrespect, okay? But Africans were under manners when I was growing up, because, you know, we outnumbered them. Caribbeans outnumbered Africans back then in the 80s, early 90s. We outnumbered them in London anyway. So yeah, there was no beef, but they were under manners. Now, I never used to like mock Africans and stuff like that, because I was always interested in African culture. But a lot of other Caribbeans did, particularly the girls. A lot of Jamaican girls would always be mocking Africans like non-stop. Like when I was growing up, I knew a lot of girls that wouldn't date Africans, you know? So there was certain African guys, a lot of African guys actually, who used to hide their identity. They used to disguise the fact that they were African. Apparently Lethal B was one of them. From what I hear, Lethal B hid the fact that he was Ghanaian when he was in school. Even though he was apparently like, you know, a bit of a bully in school, he still, according to what I hear, used to hide his African roots. I'm not sure how, because his surname is it Ansah? So he's got like a very obvious Ghanaian surname, but apparently when the debates in school used to come up between Caribbean and African, he would go quiet and try and act like he was Caribbean or something. So that's how it was back in the days. It wasn't a beef. It was just, you know, Caribbeans were running things and that was it. Colpzilla says, were you in a majority black school? Yes. I grew up in Brixton. The Great One says, being African is cool now. Things have changed. Yeah, because Africans are the majority now. Now Caribbeans are the minority in London, in the black community. Okay, Josh says, Billy Nelson said he had to put someone in their place for trying to sign Bakoli. I wonder if it was Spencer Brown, which would explain why Bakoli's been left in the dark since. Interesting. I take it that's in a recent interview. I'll have to check it out. Anthony says, do you think Caribbeans had some form of Stockholm syndrome, the amount they hated Africans but were all right with the geezers? You could look at it that way, but I think it just comes down to culture, because, you know, Africans speak their own language. They have tribes, they have their own customs. Whereas Caribbean culture is more similar to European culture, We all have European names. We're all monolingual, speaking a European language, right? Or some version of. We don't have all the traditions and customs that Africans have, right? We're like Europeans in terms of our family ways and what have you, you know? Like there are certain things that African parents will not allow their kids to do, but Caribbean parents and white parents allow their kids to do it, you know, like that. Generally. So there was more cultural familiarity, I guess, between Caribbeans and like British people, as opposed to, certainly of my generation, as opposed to Africans who were coming with a totally different language and, you know, and also Caribbeans have been in Britain longer in big numbers. So they had formed, you know, some type of understanding between Caribbeans and, let's say, working class white Brits. There was like ska music and, you know, all that kind of stuff. So there was like a merging of working class white culture and Caribbean culture, like in the 1970s, 1980s. And Africans weren't really part of that. Yes, exactly that. That's how you've put it perfectly. The Staminal says, Jamaicans are more relaxed than European in terms of parenting. Africans are more strict and domineering. Indeed, not to say that there weren't strict Caribbean parents, because definitely was. But they, you know, Caribbean parents don't have the kind of protocols generally that African parents have. You know, Caribbean parents are a bit more similar to European parents in that sense. Silva says Caribbean food was more popular back in the days too, but now it's vice versa. Well, in the UK, when people say Caribbean food, they're really talking about Jamaican food, right? There are not many places in London where it says Caribbean takeaway and you go in there and they've got Trini, Bajan. No, it's like 99% Jamaican food. And truth be told, shout out to all the Jamaicans out there, right? I grew up with Jamaicans. Jamaican food ain't all that. Jamaicans have got like 5 dishes or something. Do you know what I mean? It's like, I don't know how you don't get bored eating that same food over and over again. Whereas with African food, you got a whole continent worth of stuff to try. Jamaican food ain't all that, man. Come on. It's okay. It's okay. It's nothing special. You know, how many times you're going to eat oxtail, curry chicken, steamed fish, you know, it's spicy shrimp. It's okay. It amazes me that some people can eat the same food over and over again and don't get bored. Beef patties, I mean, you can't get nice patties in the UK. Juicy patties in the Caribbean don't taste anything like juicy patties in the UK. Juicy is a brand, a Jamaican brand of patties. And they're nice, but it's not like blow your mind amazing. You know, they're nice. Nah, not elite. Come on, man. It's not elite. And most Jamaican takeaways are trash. Microwaved food, never fresh, horrible attitude. Most Jamaican takeaways are trash. You know, horribly overpriced. I stopped going to those places years ago. Somebody says great customer service. Yeah. If you're a glutton for punishment and you want terrible customer service, then go to your local Jamaican takeaway. Dear, oh dear, oh dear. Anthony says, the ruder the service, the better the food. I don't find that. No, I don't find that. I actually think it's the opposite with Jamaican takeaways. The better the service, the better the food. So if you find somewhere that has like good customer service, the food will usually be good because it's a reflection of their attention to detail. Yeah, when you go in there and the Jamaicans are mad rude, they're slapdash behind in the kitchen as well, behind the scenes. They're gonna bring out some flipping watery stewed chicken that's been sitting there probably 24 hours, microwave it, some dry ass rice and peas. No, it's dead. And charge you what, £15 or some crazy price? What they're charging in them places now for a meal? Come on. Why is it that Jamaicans think that, you know, 2-piece of chicken should be the equivalent of £10? You go to the boss man and get 2-piece of chicken for a quarter that price or half that price. Yeah, Jamaican food is horribly over. I don't know what they're thinking with the prices they're trying to, crazy. The last time I went into a Jamaican place, they tried to charge something like £15 for ackee and saltfish with white rice. I was like, what? And I walked straight out. What? No, I don't rate Jamaican food that highly, man. Well, I find that the food in Costa Rica is better than any Caribbean food I've ever had. Although it's not necessarily indigenous Costa Rican cuisine. Got cuisine from all over the world. But the quality is very good. Very fresh. And the food scene generally in Costa Rica is good. There's real good competition between restaurants. And one of the things that makes it good is that there are so many Americans that open restaurants and what have you in Costa Rica, in the touristy areas. And they're highly competitive with each other. You know, really pushing it to try and get the freshest ingredients and this, that, and the other. It's not like London. London generally, the food scene in London is generally trash. It's trash. Manchester food is much better than London food. Facts. Yeah, Manchester generally has got way better quality food, better value for money, better competition. In London, everyone is penny pinching and corner cutting. Is horrible. The London food scene has always been trash. But yeah, in Costa Rica is a very good food scene in the tourist areas, you know, very good food scene, very high quality stuff, no matter what part of the world food you're gonna get, whether it's, you know, tacos, burritos from, you know, Latin American food or Middle Eastern food, sushi. They've got great sushi places, you know? I've heard from several people who've traveled out there that Tanzanian food is next level. So I can't wait to try Tanzanian food when I get out there. From what I've heard, Tanzanian food is next level. There's a couple people whose channels I watch that have traveled all over Latin America, Brazil, you know, all these different places. The individual I'm thinking about is actually from the United States. They've traveled out to the Far East, Thailand, all these places, and all over Africa. And they say that Tanzanian food is the best in the world, hands down. So I can't wait to try it and see if it lives up. I mean, Somali food is decent. Somali food is decent. And here's what I'm going to tell you right now. Somali food is better than Jamaican food. How about that? How about that? Somali food is better than Jamaican food. Just being real. Somalis always get a lot of heat in my live chat for some reason. Somalis always get a lot of heat, but their food is better than Jamaican food. Does somebody say you lost it now? Have you tried Somali food? Their food is better than Jamaican food. You go to a good Somali place in London, their food is nice. The rice, the way they spice up the rice and all that, and the beef and chicken and what have you, yeah, it's much better than Jamaican food. Because Somalis have got that like Arab spice influence in their food. They use them kind of interesting spices in the food and that, fragrant. Yeah. Wallace says Indian is best. I beg to differ. See, the problem with Indian food is nice, but they're so stingy with portion sizes. In London, anyway. You know? Trying to find a decent Indian in London is needle in a haystack stuff. Literally, your typical Indian restaurant in London, you go there, or even a takeaway, even worse, right? You order your curry, and it's literally a whole tray full of sauce with 1 or 2 bits of chicken swimming around inside it. That's the vast majority of Indian takeaways in London. Shocking. And from what I've heard, most Indian takeaways are not even run by Indians anymore. They're run by like Bengalis. I know they're all of the same stock ultimately. Before the British went there, it was all just India, wasn't it? Different kingdoms within India, but still. Growing up, I loved Indian food, but there's no way it used to be. I mean, you could go to India and have the real deal there, but don't mess with that street food. I know you guys have seen them horrific Indian street food clips on Instagram. I mean, that stuff is nightmare fuel. Oh my gosh. You guys seen them Indian street food videos? That is so shocking. Honestly, I've never seen something so disgusting as the Indian street food videos. It is absolutely disgusting. I can't believe people live like that. I can't believe people buy food for places like that. And you know, as disgusting as it is, there's always like a long queue of people waiting to get their food. It's unreal. Oh my God, it's unreal. Iron stomach. I saw one where this guy like spat in the food. The guy spat in the food. I saw one where rats are running around and going in the bowls that they're mixing stuff. I'm like, oh my God. Have I seen the armpit one? I don't think so, and I don't want to. Trust me. I've seen enough of those to give me nightmares for life. Avro Jam says health and safety is illegal in that industry. Okay, my comment will trigger you. Says, I really don't like vegetables, but vegetables of Tanzania was amazing. Yeah, I've heard so many great things about Tanzanian food. It is just levels. The food scene in South Africa is meant to be pretty good too. Well, very good. Like in Cape Town, the food scene down there is supposed to be good. They've got their own cuisine and what have you. I'm not particularly keen on going to South Africa, but one thing that I would like to try, the glutton in me would like to try a type of sandwich that they make in Cape Town called a Gatsby. You guys ever heard of a Gatsby? Some of them Gatsbys look crazy in Cape Town. Anthony says Tanzanian women are beautiful too. That's a whole fact. A shout out to Adam for the super chat. He says, can you see Crawford doing undisputed at 154? No. No. I don't think he cares about undisputed at 154. Personally, and maybe I'm wrong, but my perception is he just wants a big fight and then sail off into the sunset. Like a real mega fight. Now that could be an undisputed fight, I guess, if they put up enough money, but I don't think undisputed is his main focus. I think his main focus is just getting a mega payday and then calling it quits. David says, what's in it? In a Gatsby, well, Gatsby's, they come with a variety of different fillings, but if you just go on YouTube and look up Cape Town Gatsby sandwich, they can have all sorts of stuff, but one of the main things I think that comes in every Gatsby is chips, right? So like British style thick cut chips are in the Gatsby. The Gatsby's are massive, by the way. It's like an enormous sandwich, with like all sorts of different stuff in there. And yeah, some of them Gatsby's, Cape Town Gatsby's look crazy. They look like something I would have to try. It's not a one Gatsby per person. It's like 2 or 3 people share one Gatsby. They're that big. Big Dog says, I'm from Zimbabwe. South Africa is okay, just that things are overpriced. Yeah, I've never really been particularly keen on going to South Africa, truth be told, for several reasons. One, because it's very westernized, and 2, because it's very dangerous. The crime in South Africa is totally out of control. I'm much more keen on going to Zimbabwe, actually, because of the historical sites they have there, like Great Zimbabwe. I definitely like to visit Great Zimbabwe. Also, the Matobo Hills, which is just south of Bulawayo. I like to go there. Black Dynamite says South Africa is a tricky one for me. Let me try to pronounce it. Oza women are beautiful, but I ain't trying to get robbed. Yeah, a lot of beautiful women in South Africa, but they got hearts of darkness. This is just being real with you. Them South African chicks are dark-hearted. And they're so deceiving as well because they got such like pretty faces, but the heart is like black and cold, Bunny chow, that's another thing. Yeah, they have that in South Africa, Durban especially. I think they have it in Zimbabwe too, right? Bunny chow. I've never tried it, but I definitely want to try that too. It's an interesting fusion, isn't it? It's like a hollowed out loaf of bread with Indian curry in it. What's that road in Durban that has all the restaurants? Is it Miami Road? Is it Florida Road? Miami Road? I forget the name of it. There was some rapper who got shot there. Some rapper from Cape Town who got killed on that road a couple of years ago. Black Dynamite says, be careful with Tanzanian women. Black magic is rife over there. Black magic is rife everywhere in Africa. And it's pretty common in Latin America too, by the way. Santeria, brujeria. My pronunciation is terrible, but yeah. There's plenty of black magic in Latin America. Oh yeah. In most third world countries, witchcraft is commonplace. Even in the Far East, if you go out to Indonesia even, which is a predominantly Muslim country, there's loads of juju going on. Bali, there's loads of witchcraft in Bali, bro. Loads of it. Cambodia. Oh yeah. You go to it, most third world countries is full of witchcraft. First Round Boxing says, have you ever had Sicilian Hatman? Not specifically Sicilian. Italian food generally, which I like. Everyone likes Italian food, right? And Sardinian food. I used to live with a guy from Sardinia. Used to share a flat with a guy from Sardinia. Apparently, the version of Italian that they speak in Sardinia is the most similar to Latin. I think I've got that right. It's either Sardinia or Sicily, but I think it's Sardinia. I think Sardinia, the version of Italian they speak is the one that's most similar to Latin. And they're very short, the people from out there, from Sardinia. Guys are always like mad short. Black Dynamite says they also have a lot of Arabic in their language. Yeah, that's from the times of the Moors. Yes, I still work out. First Round Boxing says I'm half Sicilian. Good food and also witchcraft stories. The Celtic Magician says, Hatman, apparently my Lithuanian friend said his language is the closest to Latin today. It does sound it, to be honest. Okay. Lithuanian. Afro Jam says there's a lot of witchcraft over here. Over where? Where you at? Afro Jam says, how much females into tarot readings, star signs, and chakras? Not as innocent as you think. Oh, in the UK. But the thing about the stuff you're talking about is that's like cosplay witchcraft. You know, they don't really, most of them kind of new agey types, they don't really know anything about real magic. You know, it's like cosplay stuff. It's not the type of stuff you get in third world countries, which is the real deal. Their stuff is like some cosplay, you know, Wiccas. You don't really know what they're doing. Big Dog says, big up Hatman, I'm actually from Bulawayo in Zimbabwe. And the Matopo Hills you mentioned, I went to school there. Oh, wow. It's just south of Bulawayo, right? We have crazy history, some on superstition or myth level. Yeah, I know about some of the interesting things in Zimbabwe and Southern Africa in general. With some of the, how would you even describe them? Entities, spiritual entities, like the Tokolosh, mermaids. In certain parts of Zimbabwe, they say there are mermaids. I mean, crazy stories. And the Matopo Hills specifically, I've heard of certain entities around there. The Matopo Hills are where they buried a lot of the warriors, right? In that area. It has spiritual significance to the locals. Geryon says, thought mermaids were Norse mythology. Nah, they're way beyond just Norse. It's ancient and found in many parts of the world. Anyway, peeps, gonna draw the curtain on this one. Thank each and every one of you for joining me on this live stream. It's been fun. Special shout out to everybody who donated via Super Chat. Take care of yourselves. What's the date today? 29th? All right. Might do another stream. Possibly on New Year's Eve. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, been another good one. So, catch you next time. I'm out.